call the meeting. And it doesn't look like we have a quorum, but I'd like to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. And then once we're finished with that, we'll decide if we want to cancel the meeting or continue as a committee of a whole. Yeah. I'll start. I'm with JP Harris with the City of Cotati. Let's go this way.
I'm Paul Schwartz, Sonoma, Santa Rosa Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board. I'll be an alternate for our newly designated representative, citizen representative, Sarah Hart.
Alexander Oseguera, active transportation planner for the city of Santa Rosa.
Gavin Waters, I'm the citizen rep from Sebastopol.
Elizabeth Tyree, Sonoma County Regional Parks.
Edie Sakata, City of Roanoke Park.
You want to go up or?
No, go with you.
Okay, Chris Barney, Sonoma County Transportation Authority, Regional Climate Protection Authority.
George Gravenberg, City of Petaluma.
John Jay, Associate Planner with the City of Sebastopol.
Dana Trey, SUTA, RCPA.
In the back.
Andrew Nichols at CTA or CPA. And then just so those online can hear. And so for those online, I'm just going to call your name out. We have Ross Clendenin with SCTA RCPA. We have Dan Bell, Margot Acanyas from SCTA RCPA, Christina Panza from the Safe Routes to School, Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, David Raperta from SCTA RCPA, oh, excuse me, Jasmine Stitt from Caltrans, and Orlando Ramirez from Caltrans.
Thank you, Drew. My recommendation is that we continue to meet as a committee of a whole. And we only have one action item, which is the minutes. So let's proceed and we can have our discussion items. If anyone disagrees, raise your hand. Perfect. All right, then let's go. We're going to skip item 2, which is approval of the minutes. There's meeting notes from May 28th. Does anyone have any comments on any of the minutes that were presented from? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I have one minor comment. I think it's just a added word on page. So it's the meeting minutes from March 26th. Item 4, it's page 6 in the agenda. 4.1 says new complete streets checklist food form line live. I don't think food belongs there, even though we might be hungry in the afternoon.
I was probably hungry over there. My apologies.
That's the only note I have. But that sounds like a delightful form.
All right, Drew, food next time. Perfect. Does anybody else have any comments? And what about our folks online? Okay, we're not going to take an action item. Comment correction has been noted, and we'll move on to item number 4, which is public comments on items not on the regular agenda. And how about online? No raised hands. All right, then we'll go on to item number 5, complete streaks checklist. This is item 5.1, the Smart Rail System Healdsburg Extension complete streets checklist. And then, do you want to present that, Dana?
I'll actually give that over to David Rifferda, who's on Zoom.
Thank you, Dana. So thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is the complete streaks checklist for the Smart Healdsburg extension, which includes not only the rail extension from between Windsor and Healdsburg, but also the pathway portion of the project. This checklist is needed, as usual, as a checking the box exercise for MTC. In this case, SMART is submitting today a grant application to the California State Transportation Agency's Transit and Interstate Rail Capital Program to request funding not only for the extension for Healdsburg, but the extension all the way to Cloverdale. Uncertain whether they'll be able to get that funding or not, but as part of MTC's process for large support, MTC requires action on this checklist. Just to clarify, there's no action needed today from the committee, but we do ask that you submit any comments on the checklist to Joanne at SMART by Friday, July 26th. With that, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions here in the room? Any questions from our folks on Zoom? Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Next item is item 6.1, Caltrans District 4 Bike Plan Update with the presentation from Caltrans.
Oh, hi, everyone. I guess, do I share my screen or would that work?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, cool. Want to hijack things if that wasn't, the case. But anyway, do you see my screen now, guys, or?
Yes, clear.
Cool. Thank you so much. So thank you all for having me. My name's Jasmine Stitt. I work for Caltrans in the Bicycle and Pedestrian branch, and I'm the lead on the bike plan update. And yeah, we're really excited to share with you what we've been doing. So the bike plan is going to identify barriers to biking on and across the state highway facilities, so Caltrans owned and operated roads, and identify and prioritize places for improvement. So, okay, cool. So, just already spoke at this committee a year ago or so now. So, and I kind of already went on some of these things, but just to get everyone on the same page, why are we updating the bike plan? So we have a bike plan at Caltrans. It was the very first bike plan of any Caltrans district. And at this point, it's 6 years old. It's not that old, but it's a good idea to take this opportunity and engage with our local stakeholders. We at Caltrans don't do as much engagement as we should to just coordinate and check in with our counties and our local jurisdictions. It's also a great opportunity for performance tracking. We really want to see what we've done in the past bike plan and what we've accomplished and what more we need to do. We want to build on our success and identify more paths moving forward. So we started this process by identifying draft vision and goals. These goals are actually really similar to our last one. There were some tweaks on it. Our 3 goals are safety, mobility, and equity. And these are actually also aligned really well with MTC's active transportation goals. They don't have mobility, they have mode shift, but they essentially have a very similar 3 goals. We tweaked a lot of the language here, but yeah, it's generally similar. So one of the biggest outputs of our bike plan is to identify a list of what we call location-based needs, which are areas that need improvements. And a big part of our bike plan is also ranks those as a priority. So which ones are high priority, which ones are mid, and which ones are low. So we created this list. It's a very large list. It's like 500 locations. So we took locations from our last bike plan. We deleted projects that are either completed or under construction or kind of on their way to being completed and that don't need any more planning. We also went through a lot of local jurisdiction bike plans because it's really important that we coordinate and that all the things that, all the lovely planning work that our locals have done, we want to be consistent with that and have a database of projects that are in there to make sure we're all on the same page. We also did a pretty extensive engagement, extensive for Caltrans, but we did an engagement process last summer. We had a survey that was open to the public and to local jurisdictions, and they commented about locations that they thought that really needed improvement. We also looked at our low stress network, we looked at severe locations, and we looked at countywide priority bikeways. So we took all that information, which was quite a bit of information, and we prioritized all of those projects. We came up with locations, and then we prioritized them based on our 3 metrics. So our 3 metrics, again, are safety, mobility, and equity. Safety was prioritized with a weighted crash density of collision locations as reported in Switters and Tim's. Equity was on Cal Enviro Screen and NTC's Equity Priority Community. Mobility was a little harder to really quantify. We used a whole bunch of different metrics. We used density of short trips. We used a regional bikeway network, proximity to transit, public feedback, and permeability. So, which is a measure of how difficult it is to cross a facility. FHWA came up with that method. It's kind of complicated. But anyway, so we gave everyone a score from low to high, so 1 to 3. And then we gave them for all equally weighted them, and then we gave them a location-based needs score with the highest scoring places given the high score, the middle 1/3 was given the mid score, and the bottom 1/3 was given the low score. So we have a pretty extensive story map. So here, I'll pull up my story map real quick. It's online, it's in your packet. It goes into a lot more depth about our locations and things. One thing that I really wanted to point out about our safety collision, it goes into detail here, but Highway 12 was a route with most bicycle fatalities in our study period. And there were 4 bicycle fatalities on Route 12, 3 of which being in Sonoma County. So Route 12 is our collisions show it as being quite a priority. So we go into more detail about mobility and equity here, but I'll just jump to the location-based needs because that's kind of the heart of our bike plan. And to look at where our priorities here in Sonoma County. So as you can see, Highway 12 is a high priority. It almost scored perfectly on our system, on our scoring metric. There's a planned, of course, big path on it, which yeah, it's a very high priority in the county, and would be a very high priority for Caltrans as well. We have a lot of high interchange along the 101. It's not surprising that there's a lot of crossings of 101 that it's a barrier for biking throughout the county. So those crossings, especially crossings near kind of denser urban areas, are quite a priority. And also through Guerneville, there's a planned class 1 or a planned trail, or at least class B buffered bike lane through Guerneville on Highway 116. So yeah, we have quite a bit of identified priorities here, and we have a place to put your comments if you have any comments about what our priorities are, and if you think we're missing some, or if there are tweaks to certain locations that you all have about. So yeah, we have that. We have a list of our kind of locations. Oh, Story Point Road is on here. That's the location. That's one of the locations in Highway 12 that had a that had a fatality. So that interchange is really important. There's an existing trail there called the Joe Rododo Trail, but I might be mispronouncing it, but the interchange there is the crossing right there is still really needs improvement. So yeah, these are what we have as your Sonoma County's high priority locations. In addition to our list of location-based needs, we also came up with a best practices, bicycle best practices. It's to fill in guidance, design guidance that and reference our location-based needs. So it contains some examples of all ages and abilities facilities built on Caltrans right of way. So it's also on our website that you can comment on as well. It goes into best practice guidelines on interchanges. There's not a lot of guidance out there for how class 4s and protected bikeways and trails interact with interchanges. So this guidance kind of shows best practices that have been built in District 4. Yeah. So yeah, and we have both interim kind of design options as well as kind of ultimate design options. So those are also available for public comment. But some key questions for you. I would really like to know what you guys, what are some key projects here in Sonoma County on across the state highway system? How can Caltrans be a better partner with our local jurisdictions? And what would you like to see Caltrans do to improve bicycle mobility?
Thank you, Jasmine.
Hey, Gavin Waters, the citizen rep from the city of Sebastopol. So I will say that there is a perception that I've encountered once or twice that Caltrans is kind of like the boogeyman of transportation planning, especially when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian aspects. So I would definitely encourage you to do some outreach. And there are several bicycle groups in Sonoma County. The Bicycle Coalition is here today, but of course, there's also Bike Sebastopol, of which I'm a member, and there's Bikeable Santa Rosa as well. So might want to consider reaching out to some of those groups and, maybe joining some of their meetings and, just kind of explain where Caltrans is these days and, that you're not, in fact, the boogeyman. And I'd be happy to send you an email with some links to the different groups after the meeting.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. If you could, send me their emails. Yeah, that's a great contact. Thanks. Yeah. Caltrans's reputation for and bike and complete streets might be well deserved. So, but yeah, we're slowly changing.
Hey, Jasmine, can you let us know how long you plan to be in this kind of taking public comment period and when you want to start closing comments and putting your draft together?
Yes, we are going to close our comments period at the end of August, but we are going to release another the draft of our plan. But the plan will be mostly what's already in here. But yeah, we'll have a public comment period open for that as well. So the end of August is when we're hoping to get comments on these two deliverables.
Dina?
So Jasmine, could you tell us, how can we help you get the word out about the plan and about the comments that are being sought?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Help.
Yeah, you could email out to people and email out our web map, and I can give you a blurb about our web map and the type of comments that we would like. There's the web map has a place in it for comments, and the best practices also has a place in it for that we can get public comments.
Thank you. And Jasmine, if you could send that to me, this is Dana Trey, if you can't see me.
Okay.
I could send it out to the CBPAC group to share.
Cool. That's a great idea.
Jasmine, this is Elizabeth Tyree from Sonoma County Regional Parks. Thank you for your work and for Caltrans' work on this document and assembling all this information to move forward. We, Sonoma County Regional Parks, were happy to complete the feasibility study for Highway 12 from El Verano to Melita. So looking at a Class 1 corridor for the distance of 12, and we share concerns about Highway 12 and the difficulty to move there as a cyclist or a pedestrian. We ask for Caltrans support as we move forward with acquisition opportunities along that corridor where the right-of-way is narrow, and for having we get mixed messages coming back from your agency on next steps moving forward. I appreciate all the work you're doing here. It would be our pleasure to hear this type of work more broadly embraced by your organization and having a Class 1 trail along the Highway 12 corridor. And we also and thank you for mentioning also the Lower Russian River Trail, the feasibility study we did along Highway 16. So we're happy with that as well. And just a brief thing, it's Joe Rodota. There's a typo in your highlights. It's Rodota.
Oh.
Our first director of regional parks when we were created over 50 years ago. So that's the nexus for the name on that stretch of trail. Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, I will correct that. Yeah. So just to let you also know that part of our this bike plan update is also presenting to internal Caltrans other branches and other office Caltrans staff. So we've been doing that as well. There is a disconnect between planning and our vision for complete streets and other offices in Caltrans. So yeah, this it's a very large part of my job as well to kind of bring other branches in Caltrans on board.
Thank you.
Mr. Schwartz?
Paul Schwartz, citizen representative from City of Santa Rosa. It's good to see the interchange design criteria, and I was curious if there are some guidances as to which upgrade class 2 lanes that would go up to 1 or 4, because it says as possible. Do you have some place that shows where it might be possible? Because we have many, not just high-speed interchanges on Highway 101 and Highway 12, but also going out east of 4th Street and Farmers Lane. So I was curious, I'm assuming that Caltrans would cover all that. And I wonder how we can determine which of those might be candidates for class 1 and class 4.
Yeah, so that depends on two things. If you're completely reconstructing an interchange, we view that as then we can move forward with class 4, class 1 facilities. Retrofitting has really constrained. It is just tends to be really constrained. It depends how much width is available, and we have minimum widths that we have to meet. Caltrans is getting more kind of okay with reducing some of our widths, but through interchanges, we recently had a design information bulletin, DIB 94, that allowed us to have not just 12-foot lane widths, but lower than 12-foot lane widths, and then shoulder width also could be reduced, sometimes down to 0. But interchanges, this didn't apply. But we are still looking into. You can still go through with a design exception, but yeah, it depends how much width. So we don't go anything lower than like 11 foot or 10.5-foot lanes, and to fit a class 4, you need 5-foot min bike width and then a 2-foot min buffer width. So yeah, it would depend on how many lanes there are, but yeah, those are the limitations of your geometry is kind of your limitations.
Thank you.
Gavin, did you have something you were going to say?
Yeah, hi, Gavin Waters again. As I mentioned, I'm a member of Bike Sebastopol. They also asked me to mention 6 traffic lights in Sebastopol that are controlled by Caltrans. And they've been having kind of mixed success with getting those, like a maintenance request put in for detection of bicycles. And they were wondering if it might be possible to put in some imaging sensors or maybe some other type of modern sensor to detect bicycles waiting at those 6 lights. So
Yeah.
I'll email you the details on that, but I just wanted to mention it since we've got the video thing going on here.
That's great. No, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, that's actually something that we at our branch really like to track. So yeah, you should definitely give us those locations. We have a customer service request portal on our online. I think it's csr.dot.ca.gov, but I believe that's what it's called. But I'll email it back to you what the thing is. But yeah, we're required, I believe, by law to have things that to detect bicycles. So yeah, you should definitely send me those.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
John from Sebastopol.
Hi, thank you. John Jay for the city of Sebastopol. So Sebastopol is kind of peculiar in that we have both 2 state highways kind of intersecting right through our downtown. We also have a couple projects going on that are somewhat related. First being the countywide active transportation update. So just curious if you guys are coordinating with them, and maybe this is a question for Dana, but sharing that information so that people aren't getting survey fatigue and answering and putting in the same information and it kind of going into a black hole. Second, I see that you guys have, it's a low priority project down the Main Street corridor. Sebastopol was awarded the Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Grant, which looks at a part of that corridor. So I'm the project manager for that project. So I'd be happy to kind of coordinate with you as far as making sure that future upgrades and stuff like that don't kind of interact negatively as part of your guys' update, and then also our update as well. So making sure that we're working together on that, on both of those projects.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Yeah, coordination is difficult with Caltrans, but I think we've been coordinating okay, at least from our end. We think we're coordinating okay with the bike plan the update for Sonoma County. And Orlando Ramirez is the grant manager for at least the grant side of that, and we coordinate with him sometimes about that. So his office is just on the other side. So yeah, of mine. But yeah, it's hard to coordinate with projects that are not quite done yet. It would be easier if like Mars finished and then, or yours finished and then ours, but yeah, we've been coordinating throughout, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Emily? Yes, thanks.
Hey, Jasmine, it's Emily from the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. So thanks for this update. I think these top tier projects are all great. I don't think anybody would disagree with them, but a lot of them are also really a long time coming. So talk about the class 1 along Highway 12, class 1 along River Road. Those have been in discussion for a long time. Obviously they're going to take some probably some acquisitions, as was mentioned earlier. So I'm wondering, if you've also, or if this plan is also going to take a look at what can be done in the meantime, the things that can be done a little bit more quickly. I think, what Gavin brings up about the crossings in Sebastopol are a good example. Lights that don't change are a problem for cyclists, for sure. And we've actually, we've been told by Caltrans that those crossings work, but they just only work for steel bikes. They don't work for, bikes made of carbon or others. So as Gavin was mentioning, things like cameras, I think are going to be really helpful in that case. And yeah, I guess that's my main comment. I was also going to ask about coordinating with the county plan, but you've mentioned that. And then I think the project on Hearn Avenue lists class 2 bike lanes, but I'm pretty sure that actually involves class 4, if I'm remembering right.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I should update that to class 4. Yes, because it's already, yeah. You bring up a really good point about the what can Caltrans do in addition to all the good planning work that's already been going on. So we are part of our bike plan update. We're going to have an appendix that includes kind of priority bike plans that Caltrans could initiate as part of the shop. So these, which is our pavement kind of maintenance. So they're kind of quick build type projects, and we're going to look our second step right now as we're going to look at our high priority locations. We're going to delete ones that are already ongoing, and we're going to look at all the ones that are left and look at feasibly which ones could we do with a shop project. And we're going to come up with a couple lists throughout the county of locations that we could tackle with a kind of a repaving type project with paint and posts and kind of plastic things, and like what can we push to Caltrans to do that would really help out. And we're hoping like we're gonna have an interchange kind of list of like these interchanges we can fix, and a couple other locations. So the crossings of the highway system that we could fix and things like that. So yeah, we're gonna come up with a list of that too. That's a good point. It's a good question.
Thank you, Jasmine. Any other comments in the room here? Oh, go ahead, Alexander.
Alexander from the city of Santa Rosa. You'd mentioned earlier that like Stony Point was, one with plenty of fatals there and plenty of issues at the interchange. And so, we had a consultant like kind of come up with a plan for that whole little area there. But also in the interim, we tried to do some work there just to kind of like bulb out the corner. And the process with Caltrans was kind of difficult. And so in the future, from the city side, it feels like we might not want to go that route because it might be easier to have you guys do the work on your own facilities. But it would be nice, like from a coordination standpoint, to be able to coordinate a little bit better on things of that nature. Another thing that I was thinking along the lines of that project on Stony Point Road is, do you guys cross-reference with like the ATP grant and talk to those folks about what is a priority and what you've heard is a priority and kind of get in their ear? That way, maybe we could get funding to do the project. And then the other things that I was going to bring up was that all the intersections along Highway 12 and 101, it really is like an area where there's stop gaps for, you know, bicycle facilities. So it would be nice if we could try to coordinate easier to get, you know, some class 4s underneath where there are space or where there is space. You know, I feel like there's spots throughout, even that would just be nice if somebody would stripe them with a class 2 bike lane, you know. It's like Dutton Avenue, it has like an edge line, Dutton and Highway 12, but it doesn't have like, you know, more of a symbol or whatever. And could you squeeze in a class 4 there potentially, or even a buffer? It would be nice, but there's a bunch of, you know, underpass locations where I see that being an issue. So like East Street's another one, or even Brookwood. Feels like there's more room there to do something. Maybe we don't have the facilities on either side after that, but it would help with us being able to emphasize, oh, hey, we have this here. Now we have this connection potentially. You know, could you guys do that work? And then it might make it easier on my end to get things connected to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is, yeah, that's the type of thing that we're looking for. So yeah, I will look into these locations. But yeah, we're hoping that once we have our list of things, that as it's, even if it's not identified as a project that a standalone bicycle project that we initiate, we're hoping that as just we repave all these projects, then it's like we as the bike ped branch go to this map and go, oh, this has been identified. We should incorporate this with our repaving, because we repave all of our roads every 20 or so years, or somewhere more than that. But yeah, it's just an automatic thing that we could be doing to all of these class Highway 101 and Highway 12. So yeah, I will note all these locations to see, yeah, what we can do and what's feasible. So yeah. Oh, and you mentioned about the very long Caltrans process with Stony Point Road. If you ever have problems, you should contact our branch. So you probably already have Greg Curry and contact, but getting through the Caltrans kind of encroachment permit process is very long. So we definitely feel you, and that's something that we've heard from a lot of stakeholders.
Okay. Any other comments or questions in the room here? Bjorn?
Hi there, Bjorn Griebenberg, City of Petaluma. I'm still a little confused about how you handle project identification when there's a parallel alternative available that is outside of Caltrans right of way. So for example, I'm looking at just south of Petaluma, the kind of the Marin Sonoma Narrows. There's a corridor improvement identified along 101 in an area that now has frontage road connections. And I'm curious so for that, using that as an example, if there is already a parallel alternative, is that, you know, something that is Caltrans, are you identifying a need to develop a class 1 within your right of way along that same stretch? And how do you kind of look at that overall connectivity with other agencies?
Yeah, that was actually really difficult. We especially class 1s along access controlled freeways like that, like where they are and where. So we looked at, so in contending with this, which will be in our final bike plan, we have an all ages and abilities map. And if there was something on the all ages and abilities, then we didn't include it. But a lot of these Sonoma Point Narrow roads, like they're frontage roads, but they don't really have like dedicated bike facilities. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, we probably wouldn't be the lead in a lot of these class ones, along 101, but we're a partner. So like for Marin especially, we decided to include a lot more class ones along our road, our bike plan, even though we would not be the lead on a lot of them, we would just be a partner. But it's just because it's just having a Caltrans document that identifies it as a priority just kind of makes it easier for the locals. And yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a difficult process though.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Okay, anyone else in the room here? And our Zoom attendees? Do you see any hands, Drew?
Seen any hands?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jasmine.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, then moving on, item 6.2, the ATP updates and coordination.
So I could start off just with the countywide active transportation plan updates and then love to hear a brief update from Santa Rosa and Petaluma on the progress on their plans. I don't think we have Windsor in the room, so as far as the countywide active transportation plan and the jurisdictions we're working with, we did a big engagement effort kind of between April and June, where we had workshops in each of the 6 jurisdictions that are actively going through plan updates through this process, as well as pop-up events, and had an online engagement tool as well. The consultants are now analyzing all those comments and reviewing the projects, updating the projects based on feedback that was received. And we anticipate having public draft plans out this September. That may be somewhat on a rolling basis per jurisdiction, but I think that the September timeline is still looking like it's happening. So at the next CBPAC meeting, which is already going to be in September, we should have a presentation on those draft plans. If we take any questions on that, there's a lot more details going on in the background, but that's kind of the high level overview of where we are.
Anyone want to make any comments? Yeah.
Yeah, we've unfortunately kind of stalled out on ours, but hoping to get it rolling again. Our contract with our consultant and budget have actually both expired and run out. So the goal is still for adoption this year, though, and hopefully getting in front of council and some city committees and commissions later this year.
Alexander?
Yeah, we just wrapped up our public outreach. It went from April 20th to June 8th, and we did like 10 pop-up events and 7 other events as well. We really got out there and got a lot of information from folks. We did a lot of dot exercises to just kind of engage folks, and then also got a lot of comments. And obviously we have like an online map where you can go and tell us where you're having issues or where you'd like to see bike or pedestrian facilities. We also have a BPAB meeting coming up on August 29th, and in that we'll review a list of draft recommendations. So that's going to be the next process. So if you want to give us your input on the draft recommendations, that should be at our BPAB on August 29th. That's a Thursday.
I was gonna say this at a roundtable, but we just completed ours. We just got ours completed with Fair and Peers. So that's nice. I will get it posted to the website probably this week if anyone wants to take a look at it. And we'll probably try to do some sort of social media blast this week as well. That's all I can tell you. Does anyone else have any comments? And our Zoom participants? Okay. Thank you, Dana. Moving on to updates, 7.1 roundtable discussion. Let's start with Santa Rosa, please.
Yeah, if everybody's noticed, there's a lot of slurry projects going on throughout downtown, especially, and, we're hoping to get those, striped soon. They're all kind of cat tracked, that's so just marked with paint right now. I'm not sure what the delay is at this point. It feels like the crews are slowing down, and I'm like, you just barely started getting paint on the like actual thermoplastic on the road. The Santa Rosa Avenue corridor project is kind of in limbo right now because the contractor did not apply the right kind of material to the road, so they might have to redo that. It's still in discussion on what the solution for that's going to be. And then also we have a steel lane pilot project going on. So originally we had taken a lane in the westbound direction, just to see what, unintended consequences were, see how, if we were able to slow speeds, and then also what cut through traffic there might be on, I think it's Richmond. And we had a survey that went out, and folks responded, 50% of folks responded that they would like to see an improvement of this kind on the road. 20 or 30% said that they were not in favor of something like this. And then there was like 11% that were kind of on the fence, and 2% of the folks did not respond to that question. So with that, we've moved forward with having a pilot project number 2. We're keeping it in the pilot phase just to see how things go. So we're actually going to be taking a lane in the eastbound direction as well, and adding a 2-way left turn pocket. One of the issues that kept coming up from people and from observation was that it was creating issues for people turning left into either driveways, the school, or some of the side streets. And also our fire emergency response, they had issue with having to pull into oncoming traffic. So this 2-way left turn pocket should be beneficial for them as well. And the intention is to, slow speeds in and around schools. So hopefully more of these projects can go in with public support.
Thanks, Alexander. John and Gavin, you want to tag team? Or it's best?
Sure, I'll add a couple. So as I mentioned earlier, we have started our Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Grant. We had our stakeholder meetings earlier this month. We had 2 of them. So that's kind of looking at the Main Street corridor from about McKinley Street going south down to Wilton, I believe it is, and then parts of Petaluma Avenue. So that project is underway, and I'm excited for it because it also looks at some alternative options for the Main Street. As some of you may know, that's a one-way. One of the options as part of the grant was to look at potentially reverting that back to a 2-way traffic, which has some members of the public either for or against that type of transportation down there. And earlier this month, our engineering department had their capital improvement budget approved by City Council. So there are about 4 or 5 different bike and pedestrian and transportation related projects in that budget. So looking forward for the next, and that's for the next 5 years or so, to fund those along Baydeka Avenue and a couple other parts of town. So that's all I have from my end, from the city side, but I'll pass it over to Gavin if you have anything additional.
Nothing additional, thanks.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Nothing today from regional parks.
Okay. Edie?
If you're wondering if we're going to be done with any of our projects around B section, wait a little bit longer because we'll be starting our Southwest Complete Streets in a little bit. We were waiting for the utility projects underneath it to be done, and it's getting wrapped up. So caution when you're in that area, follow the detour signs. So we're pretty excited about the Complete Streets project. So it's continuing from the roundabout through to a little bit east of Adrian Drive. We're adding improving at sidewalks, adding a sidewalk on the north side where there is none, and buffered class 2. So Oh, and medians too. So, yep, look out. There are going to be detour signs this summer.
Jordan?
Yeah, thank you. Like Sebastopol, we just went through our annual budget process and our adopted 5-year capital improvement plan, which we just shared, pulled all the bike ped projects out and presented that to our pedestrian bicycle advisory committee. And we were looking at about 11.2 miles worth of bike ped projects, including new trails, major street rehabilitation projects. Over the next several years. And then we actually have not yet accounted for all of our utility projects. We've actually had a lot of success recently with utility projects to kind of piggyback on their work to do additional safety improvements. And then we're also looking at we have about almost 9 miles of quick build projects we've identified through 2026. And now we're working on identifying all of our pavement preventative maintenance projects, which to Alexander's point is another great opportunity to implement safety improvements. So we're working on building out a 5-year pavement plan with both the rehab projects and preventative maintenance projects, and should have a lot of good work happening in Petaluma in the next few years. And then we've also been keeping pretty busy this summer with some TFCA funding to install bike racks throughout the city.
Nice.
And we've made some good progress there. We've got several new on-street bike corrals in our downtown that have been really well received. We've been putting those in existing kind of red curb areas, especially in areas where we have a lot of foot traffic and sidewalk activity. And we really didn't want to add additional furniture to the sidewalks and put additional constraints on the sidewalks. So we're using red curb areas mostly near crosswalks and intersections that were already there. No parking removal, vehicle parking removal, I should say, involved. And yeah, so we're continuing with that. And we're actually going to be, had a good conversation with Drop, and they'll be using a lot of our on-street corrals for bike share once that launches. I think that's a big one for now. And I'm also curious for the group. Ben, we've got a trail, a crosstown trail where we installed some solar bollard lighting, and it's really just not getting the job done. And I'd be curious if anyone has seen any good examples of trails that have, it's not a super shaded trail. It doesn't have the best tree canopy. I mean, we would like it to have a really good tree canopy in the future, but if anyone's had any good luck with solar kind of pedestrian scale trail lighting, and definitely open to overhead lighting as well, or something a little bit taller up on a pole, because we've also had a lot of vandalism issues with anything that's where you have equipment at lower levels. So I'll throw that back out to the group in case anyone has something. Sorry.
Oh, I had a question for you,
Yeah.
because you talked about like the slurry, right? And using that to help build out the network. Like, are you being able to like prioritize where the next slurry will be? Because like one of the things that we do is look at the PCI.
Yeah.
And one of the conversations I've been trying to work into the system is, okay, well, we need to look at how we can improve the network as well from a bicycle and pedestrian standpoint, and not just build gaps in the network, right? I feel like we all know that a lot of jurisdictions tend to do that, and it'd be nice to actually program things in. Yeah. I don't know if you thought of that, but just throwing it out there in case you hadn't, let's.
Yeah, we've
for
kind of
that.
taken some inspiration from City of Oakland, which their pavement plan incorporates other criteria in addition to PCI to identify and prioritize which streets get paved or slurried. And so we're trying to we're not necessarily copying the criteria that they have used, but that's what we're developing, is a prioritized list that's not just based on PCI. It also takes into account our draft criteria that we have right now, takes into account proximity to schools and parks, and the type of street it is, obviously arterial collector, whether or not it's on an existing or proposed bikeway. And yeah, we've kind of thrown that all in and tried to come up with a list that takes everything into account. Yeah.
Christina, do you have something to report from Safe Routes School?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks, everybody. July is like our preparation month for the next school year. We are in really good shape with enrollment. We have, we're really consistent for, this coming year with what we had last year. Just to go through the cities, we're serving one school in Cloverdale, one in Healdsburg, but it's looking like we have interest from another school in Healdsburg, so we may get to 2. Petaluma, 13 schools. Monarch Park, 5, all the elementary schools. We have 3 new schools in Santa Rosa, but we lost one. And we're doing 2 more bike rodeos in Santa Rosa. So we have 24 in Santa Rosa, 3 in Sebastopol, 2 in Sonoma, and 5 in the unincorporated area. We actually have a new school that will be serving in the unincorporated area. Willowside Middle School has finally enrolled. They're really have a very active PE teacher that's been working with us for a few years, but has never implemented like more comprehensive programming. So we're excited about working with them. And on our website, if you go to our website, we have our September challenge up on our website now. It's called it's a new challenge, and the messaging is to encourage families to map their route to school and also meet up to walk and roll in groups during the month of September, and to kind of track, when they're getting their selves together in groups to walk and roll, really trying to emphasize safety in numbers and connection and fun, and forming bike trains in preparation for International Walk and Roll to School Day. And we have a kind of a really cool new look and feel to our promotional materials this year. So go up to the website, you can see September. Actually, the October is partially up there. I'm in the middle of finishing up the October page, but I already have it up there too. So you can see the first 2 challenges on our website if you check it out. We have a family bike workshop coming up in Windsor on the 3rd of August, which is full. We're super excited again to have a full workshop. We're partnering with CHP to give away free helmets at that workshop. We have a workshop in Santa Rosa on the 14th of September, which nobody has enrolled for that one yet. So please spread the word. It's at a school. So once school opens, hopefully that school will really promote it with their families. We are looking for a host for a family bike workshop in October. We have put some feelers out to Healdsburg, who expressed some interest in that. But if that doesn't work out, we want to do a workshop either on the 19th of October or the 26th. So if you have interest in your jurisdiction in hosting a workshop in late October, let me know. We'll see which one pans out. We will be continuing with the task forces next year, both in Santa Rosa and Petaluma. Petaluma will continue to have monthly meetings and monthly walking audits. We did 7 schools last year in Petaluma. We audited 7 schools or 7 audit reports, partnering with Bjorn and the city to get those done. That's been an awesome partnership. Next year, we're hoping to do at least 8, maybe even up to 10. We'll see how many we can get through. And in Santa Rosa, we are decreasing our number of meetings to 3 meetings, but we're going to have them be all city meetings, all 3 of them. We're not going to be rotating from into different areas, although we will be moving the meetings. So we'll be in Lincoln Valley in October, and Santa Rosa City Schools in February, and then in June, we're still working out a host, but we will continue to do audits at schools. We did 10 schools last year in Santa Rosa, and we should be able to do at least 10 next year. If anybody has any questions or comments about what we have going on in Safe Routes, let me know.
Thank you, Tina. And how about Zoe? Do you want to give us an update from SMART?
I'm having some technical difficulties, so little issue there in the meeting, but we are, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So back in June, SMART had a groundbreaking for a groundbreaking for the pathway between Roanoke Park and Santa Rosa that will extend between Golf Course Drive and Bellevue. That was really well attended. We were very excited to see that project underway. And just this last month or last week here, we awarded a fabricator and install contract for the pathway wayfinding signs. And so that project is going to be getting going, and we are looking to complete it by December of this year. And that's it for my update this month.
And then I guess there's just Katati, and we just completed a project that put in class 2 going up Cypress. It's kind of on the uphill, and it's class 3 coming downhill, but it's a tight squeeze. And we also did a buffered class 2 on Redwood Drive, so that was nice. Those also involved repaving the surfaces. And on that note, people were talking about the pavement conditions index that we're pretty excited because we moved ours from like mid-50s a few years ago into the mid-70s, but we've been very busy with a lot of projects. So that's pretty good, but we're small, but we're very proud of it. And then another bit of news you may have heard on the ballot, Katati citizens this year will be voting to bring back roundabouts. I don't know if everyone knows, but our community outlawed them as an engineering tool. So I think the success of Rohnert Parks alleviated a lot of stress that some of our citizens felt. And yeah, thank you. So anyway, so that will be on our ballot, and it will be interesting to see how that goes. And with that, anybody else have any comments or anything they want to add, say? If not, then this is our last item, isn't it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Shared micromobility updates. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, I'll just give a brief update on where we are with the Sonoma and Marin pilot program called Redwood Bike Share. Sorry. The Drop Mobility, the company we're working with, has hired a local operations manager who's been really involved in working with all of the cities and transit districts on their process for encroachment permits and agreements. And also have been working with some non-public entities, colleges, universities, private properties on agreements for placing hubs at those locations. We've, I believe, received confirmation at a staff level from all the agencies involved on where the initial hub rollouts will be, and are working hard on getting everything permitted. So it's moving along, and I think that we'll have some updates fairly soon on more of a timeline for the launch, but everything is coming together pretty nicely so far.
We have a meeting next week. Yes. Yeah, I think so. Thursday. And then do we an update on the bicycle and pedestrian counters? They're available?
I believe they're all available. I just saw some come in yesterday, be returned in. And we will be ordering some new equipment. I'm not sure quite on the timeline for that, but once we get the new equipment in, we will have a full 4 sets of the tube and infrared counters to count pedestrians and bicyclists.
We should have Adam do a show and tell when the new equipment comes in. We can set it up on a table.
Walk past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agenda is that.
It's pretty exciting.
All right, thank you, Chris and Dana. Any other business comments, announcements? Okay. We are adjourned. Dana, you're on time.
That's good.